You know what time it is. You know what time it is.
How firm thy friendship. Oh, how
you know what time it is. On brawl with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lames. Yeah, you know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. Covered in gray and scarlet, massive. Stiff arms to your jaw, we breaking it. We sick of seeing you clowns with the crown, we taking it.
Hey, Buckeye Nation, this is the Buckeye Boyz, the show from fans, for fans, by fans, here to talk about nothing but Buckeye football. I'm your host, Sean Schrock, and I'm here with my co-host, the lovely and talented TG. What up, TG?
What up, Sean? How you doing?
Doing fine. How are you doing tonight on this fine evening?
Oh, I'm great. Just a little worn. Like I told you before the show, had a long day.
Well, I mean, Buckeye Nation's been kind of busy. It's great to see everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you guys for coming and supporting us like always. Matt Patricia, kind of a surprise hire. I'm kind of shocked at the hire myself, but I mean, the guy is a great coordinator. I know that he's had some issues as a head coach, but as a coordinator, he's been great. So some people are just not meant to be head coaches. They're just good, DC or OCs or quarterback coaches or linebacker coaches. I know the guy is pretty smart. He's wicked smart. And the only thing that worries me about this hire is I know when he was in New England, he's used to running that 3-4 defense. And we don't run the 3-4. We've been recruiting for 4-down linemen. And, I mean, K-Mac could be a true nose guard. But other than that, maybe Eric Mensah, maybe. He's another big body defensive tackle kind of guy. But we're used to the 4-down linemen. What is your thoughts on that, TG?
Actually, I think he can run our defense because if you listen to him on Julian Edelman's podcast, he talks about how he starts with zone defense before he goes into deciphering what he wants to do with the defense. So I think he can do Jim Knowles' defense. If anything, he could do even better. Why do I believe that? Because he evolves. He goes with the personnel that's on the team. So he's going to start with zone. He's going to identify the personnel. He's going to try to understand and see what this team, what these players are about before he does anything. And that's what I love about Matt Patricia, which is why I say, hey, this was a classically great hire. Because for people who are complaining about it, listen, not every great coordinator is going to be a great head coach.
Exactly.
And I don't blame him. First of all, I don't know how good he is as a head coach, truthfully, because, I mean, the Lions are a joke of an organization, or they were before Dan Campbell. So let's not say like as if he destroyed the Lions. The Lions were a joke, a bigger joke than the Cleveland Browns, a bigger joke than the Chicago Bears. Like they were the biggest joke. And just because they had 2 good years does not mean that they changed entirely. Like I want to see this keep going before we say anything. But I will give credit to Dan Campbell for making that team relevant. I'll give him that. So let's see if he can keep it up. But back to Matt Patricia. This guy's bringing a all-world, like, Patriots. He's bringing the Patriot way, I think, to Ohio State, but doing it in a way where he will evolve it to the Buckeye way. He'll bring even more to the winning culture. He'll do more with this team. And more importantly, this is a great hire for the coaching staff and the players. Why? He'll help them grow and evolve. Because as much as I love O.G. Walt, as much as I love Matt Guerrieri, I said this from the get-go. This is a move Ryan Day should do to enhance the defense. I don't want to keep seeing the same old Jim Knowles defense. Why? His whole thing was we're going to do my system. The problem with Knowles is he was not adaptive enough. He had to be forced to adapt to the personnel that we had here at Ohio State because we run 4-down D linemen. That's what we do. He had to be forced to change it. And he wasn't willing to do what Matt Patricia does, which is go change your defense to the personnel. The other thing is he has a Bible. You know what he calls the Bible? A whole host of plays that he's learned throughout the history of football. Every single play that has ever been ran by a defense. He has it and he uses it when he needs to, depending on the personnel. So, in my opinion, I think this is the greatest hire because this is like Nick Saban.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is Patricia also coached offense too.
Yeah, he did.
There's not many coaches that have coached on both sides of the ball. and he's one of the few. I mean, you got to be really wicked smart to be able to do that. I mean, at a high level. I mean, just not he wasn't doing just high school football. He's doing it in pro football at the highest level possible. So, calling offense and defense. I mean, I like that they made Tim Walden co-defensive coordinator and gave him a bump. Made Matt Gary passing game was it?
Defensive passing game coordinator, essentially.
Defensive passing game. So he gave those guys a bump in their pay, a little more probably a little bit more responsibility, and let Coach Walt, get a little more responsibility. We get a chance to be probably more into the game plan.
He's going to have more of a voice in the game plan.
Yeah. Which, I mean, that's good because I think if they would have just brought someone brand new in and not bumped them up at all, I think it could have caused some hard feelings. So
actually, they weren't mad about the hiring of Matt Patricia. As a matter of fact, everybody in the Woody was excited about it, especially those two. Now, Ryan Day gave them a bump mostly because of the fact that they deserved it. And Ryan Day, I think he wants these guys to be promoted to defensive coordinator, but he doesn't trust them yet.
Yeah.
I think he's doing the Nick Saban. Because remember, Nick Saban did this all the time too, but he did it on offense. Ryan Day and Nick Saban are the same type of coaches, in my opinion, except they just coach at different sides of the ball. Nick Saban was a defensive guy. Ryan, offense. They are strictly they know the other side. Ryan Day, if he wanted to, could have been a D coordinator because he does know defense. Same with Nick Saban. He could have been an offensive coordinator. He knows offense, but that's not who they are. They're offense, defense. They are who they are. So they have no problem promoting guys on their side of the ball that they know that they could trust to help run the systems that they run on whichever side. So, and like I said, in Nick Saban's case is defense, in Ryan Day's case is offense. So what Ryan Day is doing is just what Nick Saban did, but he's doing it on the opposite side because what Nick Saban did was he would hire a offensive coordinator from the NFL who was a failure, if we're being honest, even as a head coach. And he would take them and have them run the offense, and he would bump guys up to be co-coordinator and be a pass game coordinator or a run game coordinator, pretty much both. And he would have them working with this particular offensive coordinator to where the person who's got the co-tag is going to be the person who becomes the offensive coordinator. So in Ryan Day, him bumping up Tim Walton tells me he's going to make Tim Walton the D coordinator whenever Matt Patricia leaves. And that means Matt Gary being the pass game coordinator, defensive pass game coordinator, he'll be bumped up to co-defensive coordinator. So when Tim Walton leaves, then he steps into that. Yeah. I think that's how Ryan Day's doing it. It's just like Nick Saban did with offense. He's doing it with defense. Well, so for people, yes, I'm sorry, Sean, but let me finish this one.
My bad.
No, it's fine. It's just that people who criticize this hiring understand it's no different than what Saban does. No different. He's making the Saban moves. Do we all not realize that?
Well, what people don't realize is Urban used to do the same thing. I mean, he would move his guys up. I mean, he had it where he wanted all his assistant coaches to want to be head coaches, and he said that was his goal, was to teach those guys to be head coaches and get them so they were ready to be head coaches and push them out the door. I mean, Chris Ashwin became a head coach. He moved Ed Warner up, but Ed Warner was a failure, of course. But, I mean, a lot of those guys moved on to be head coaches elsewhere. Tom Herman. And he just would bring the guys up, and try to promote them within. And if it didn't work, then he'd go outside the program and get Ryan Day. And Ryan Day actually ended up becoming his replacement. So,
yeah, I will say this with Ed Warner. I think Ryan Day's doing exactly what Urban did, but I don't think Urban set Tim up for success in the greatest possible way. I think Urban went about it wrong when it came to his staff. He should have done what Ryan Day did, because as much as you want your guys to be coaches, you need them to learn first how to be coaches at being coordinators and then moving up to head coaching. And there are some who are capable of moving from just position coach to head coach, as we've seen in football. So I will say this about Urban, of what Ryan Day is doing is better than what Urban did, because Ryan's actually taking it smarter, like a Nick Saban. Like I said, Nick Saban did not always hire from within. You got to know when to hire from within, when not to. Ryan Day's hiring a defensive coordinator on the outside because he needs to run the offense. He needs, or better yet, not run the offense, but he needs to help run the offense, I should say. because Brian, it's still his first time. Like, he's great at calling passing plays, but he needs to make sure that everybody's working in unison on the offensive side of the ball, on the coaching side, because we're super young. Whereas on defense, he needs an adult in the room to run that side so he's not stressing. Not to, again, take anything from Tim or G, but you have to understand, guys, like Ryan Day needs to know that the defense is being ran trustworthily. It's not like he doesn't trust you fully, but with what's going on with Brian Hartline, he's got to do what's best for the team first, which is get an outside guy. And like I said, this was a great hire for the staff because Matt Patricia can help Brian Hartline and the offense by teaching them some things when it comes to defense and how to even read defenses and see what's going on there. Because, I mean, that's what he did with the Patriots. That's definitely what he did with what he did with Tom Brady, because whether people know it or not, Tom Brady learned how to read defenses from different angles and how defenses were being ran when he went up against other teams, especially with how much he studied. And then with the defensive side of the ball, like I said, OG Walt and Matt Geary will be the D coordinators at some point. So this will help teach them more about defense, how to acclimate, how to adjust to personnel, because that was the one thing Jim Knowles never taught these guys, how to adjust to personnel. It's important how you do that. So in order for those guys to be successful, and even James Laurinaitis, I think he can learn something. I think he's a future DC and a future head coach.
That's his goal.
Yeah, that's his goal. But he's got a lot to learn. And like I said, he learned a lot under Jim Knowles, but you didn't learn enough. Like I said, you got to learn how to identify personnel. So I think hiring Matt G helps them do that because he's such a genius. He's so inventive. He's like Chip Kelly on defense.
Well, and he knew that defense like the back of his hand because he was with Knowles the whole, he'd been with Knowles for so many years. And he had a little bit of a different spin on it too, because he kind of brought something different to it because he branched out on his own for a little bit and got to, call his own plays and add some stuff. Then when he came back with Jim, he had a little bit of his flair to it. I mean, that's the good thing about these defensive coordinators. When you take over for somebody, you're going to call the defense for the most part, but you're going to add your own little stuff to it that works for you, that you find that you like. And you can, I mean, that's just like bringing Matt Patricia, and those guys are, like you said, they're going to learn different stuff, and they can add to the defense stuff that won't work. They can put, they can throw out. And the great thing about Patricia is he's a guy, like you said, Ryan Day can trust. He's been there. He can run the whole defensive room. You don't have to worry about him. He's not going to struggle with Brian Hartline. This is his first time being a coordinator, a true offensive coordinator. And, there's probably going to be growing pains. Let's be real with it. So he might have to spend a little more extra time on the offensive side of the ball this coming year. So it's good that he has an old head that can, run the defensive side where he doesn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's actually the best part about it. And I'm so, I always hear this, like Doug said, he's a genius, and he really is, because this guy knows the defense like the back of his hand. He's an engineer. You don't get a degree like that unless you're intently smart. And that's what he did. He used his engineering, whatever he did with engineering, and brought it to football in every facet of the way. So like I said, with Jim Knowles, his problem was he just stuck with doing one thing, and it took Ryan Day forcing him to change how he does things. Whereas with Patricia, he doesn't have to do that. And we're going to get to Knowles later on because there's been some more information that came out about his exit, which is so shocking. And I'm going to say this, Jim Knowles, you're a trash person for this, because that was just terrible from what I've heard. But again, because Knowles is so stubborn, with Patricia, you get to evolve with defense. And that's something these guys get to learn too, because it's like you get to learn NFL defense. What Matt Patricia can do with Jim Knowles' defense. I said this. I think Jim Knowles could have been an NFL D coordinator if he changes stuff, if he knows how to adjust the personnel. Because when you look at his defense, it's similar to what people do in the NFL. It's just that he doesn't evolve enough.
Yep.
That's what Matt Patricia will do with Jim Knowles' defense. He not only can do Jim Knowles' defense, he will evolve it, make it better, and will make it an NFL defense, something Ryan Day wants. Ryan Day wants to make this program, and we know Ohio State wants this program to be an NFL program. Yep. That's what he wants. That's what Patricia will do with the defense, because it's already done on offense. It's already done with offense. I mean, Ryan Day even killed the narrative with the whole quarterbacks of Ohio State can't play in the NFL. He killed that narrative on offense. So that offensive side of the ball is already set when it comes to to NFL. The defense is where it needs to be solidified. That's bringing in Patricia does that.
Yep, you're right. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Now, do you think bringing Hartline, giving Hartline the promotion, I think it was the right thing to do. You kind of got to see if he can handle it. I mean, he's been there long enough. And of course, if you pass him by, he might leave. So, I mean, they made him the co-offensive coordinator, basically giving him a title just to give him a pay bump because he's doing so great at, recruiting, and you want to keep the guy here. So we'll get to see what Brian Hartline can do. But what was your thoughts? How did you feel about when they said Brian Hartline?
Yeah, well, first, Burks, please get off your high horse, dude. This, y'all hire Wink Martindale, who's way lesser than freaking Matt Patricia and less smarter. Trust me, I've watched him on the Giants. His defense was total trash. And even this year, his defense wasn't that great, okay? But now, to the Brian Hartline, I actually was okay with it. Like I said, if Brian Day's going to do this, and I made this before, if he was going to make an internal hire on defense, he was going to have to bring in somebody on the outside for offense. If he makes an internal hire from offense, he's got to make an outside hire for the defense. Him promoting Brian Hartline was the smartest move. Why I say this? Because Brian Hartline can call plays. It's just that he didn't understand running plays. Passing plays he could call. It's running plays he did not understand. Him spending 1 year under Chip Kelly, like him spending last year with Day, because they said he spent his time with Brian Hartline helping him with play calling. And being able to basically help him grow. And that's what he did. And then with Chip, he grew even more. So Ryan Day sees he's ready for that, but he's still going to need help because he's less experienced for starters. So I really do think he is ready for this. And I think Brian Hartline will do great. He just needs time. That's it. Like, I'm willing to give him that.
Well, I think the good thing was that the hire of Les Bowen as, the line coach. I mean, he's an offensive coordinator, has experience calling plays, and he's great with the run game. So he can help Brian Hartline if Brian Hartline struggles. He not only has a head coach that is a great play caller, but he's also got a line coach that's experienced in calling plays. So there's a lot of people there to help Brian Hartline mature into a good play caller.
Yeah, and Mark, thanks for the 50-man. My concern is, will Matt and Larry be able to work together, or are they both stubborn? No, let me say this. Matt is not stubborn. I know Larry is, but it depends on how you're doing with the defense, because the biggest problem that Larry had with Jim Knowles was his defense, because it wasn't doing the front any favors. Like, the pass rushing schemes were so vanilla, so bland, so blah, that Larry had such a huge problem with it, because he was like, it was so bad. Literally, it just was. So, again, Ryan Day had to force Jim Knowles' hand to do better with the up front. Because, look, his defense does well with the secondary and with the linebackers to an extent. But when you're talking about getting pressure, especially with just the front four, Jim Knowles' defense never did that. So, as long as Matt Patricia is just doing things right by the defensive line, I don't think Larry's going to have a problem with him. If anything, I think Larry could like him just because, and I hear Larry's excited about this move too, because he does know Matt Patricia and knows who he is. Again, the guy's very adaptive to the personnel that he has. So that's the biggest reason why I think Larry and him could work out, is because he's adaptive.
Well, New England used to bring plenty of stunts and exotic looks too. They weren't vanilla like Larry's defense was with the cage rushing. The cage rushing was.
You mean Jim Knowles?
I mean, Jim Knowles, my bad. Yeah, Jim Knowles is stupid cage rushing. I mean, you're taking the aggressiveness out of your players and making them play passive. And no wonder they weren't getting home.
That's why they weren't getting home a lot. That was my biggest problem. Like, people think that Larry could have been the problem. I'm like, no, it was Knowles, dude. His defense was so vanilla up front. His pass rushing isn't great. If he just changed his defense to fit the up front, and that's the best thing about Matt Patricia. He's coached defensive backs, corners, and safeties. He coached linebackers, and he's coached D-line. So he knows how to get the most out of a defense because he coached at all four, I should say, positions on defense. So he knows how to bring the best out of all these guys. And again, it just depends on the personnel you have. Remember Patrick Chung on the New England Patriots back in 2016? This dude was a stud. That's what he did with that guy. and they won the Super Bowl. Like people, especially, and we're going to get into Michigan fans talking about this whole Matt Patricia hire because they're freaking ignorant and they don't realize what this means. Burke, I know for a fact don't. But this hire of Matt Patricia means that we basically have a defense that's going to be more versatile, is going to do more up front, get more pressure, get more looks, because Jim Knowles' defense is great, but he cannot adapt to personnel. Matt Patricia can't. So, and more importantly, Sean, think about it like this. We might actually get more rotation out of the defense because of this. Because I think one of the big reasons that Larry Johnson had problem recruiting, and one of the reasons why we had such a problem with rotation is because we didn't really have players that it took them a while to really get there. You know, that was just problematic in every facet of the way. But with Wink Martindale, think about how he could. I mean, we talked about it with CJ Hicks. We've been trying to get CJ Hicks to do more. That dude is a freaking star-studded player who has been underutilized and has not been used correctly. Matt Patricia could take that dude and turn him into a stud easily, and turn him probably into a first-round pick just by using him the way he's meant to be used. And by the way, Burks, Wink Martindale staying with y'all is a great idea for us because, again, I'd rather have Matt Patricia over dumbass Wink Martindale.
Well, the difference between Wink and Patricia actually was the defensive coordinator when he won rings. I mean, Martindale was just a linebacker coach. He wasn't the one calling the plays in Baltimore, and that's where everybody gets the assumption that, oh, he created the Baltimore defense. He was the guy.
No, he did not.
No, he was a tag along.
Yes.
So for all these guys to say he's the OG of that defense, no, he wasn't.
Yeah, and that's why with some of these people trying to talk about like, well, Bill Belichick, because trust me, the argument would be, oh, well, Bill Belichick had the defense. No, he didn't. Trust me, Bill Belichick would tell you he had nothing to do with the defense of Matt Patricia, because even he would tell you that he can never come up with anything as creative as what Matt Patricia had. I mean, this guy even had him working on the offensive side of the ball too, which should tell you how smart he thinks of Wink Martindale. And trust me, Bill Belichick would never hire Wink Martindale because he's a bum. Trust me, this guy don't just hire anybody on his staff. Now, I know down the final stretch of Bill Belichick's tenure, he took just anybody on his staff, and we saw how when he hired Jerry Mayo to be the DC, we saw how bad that defense was. Like, it wasn't as good as it's been in previous years. Now, it wasn't super bad, but it wasn't as great as it's been with Matt Patricia. So,
but when you don't have a real quarterback, you know what I mean? That's really going to hurt the team.
Let me say this. Like, Mac Jones' first year, they made the playoffs. Like, he was actually playing well. What really hurt Mac Jones was the weapons they had around him.
True.
That team sucked tremendously. They really did not build around him.
That whole team, the talent level was so bad at the end. It didn't matter who you had coaching. I mean, the one thing I do like about Patricia is he did learn from Belichick. Belichick's considered the GOAT.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of stuff that Belichick, teaches his coaches, and he's the GOAT for a reason because he's the smartest guy to ever coach football. So
yeah, he is. And
freaking Patricia's right off his tree. Granted, there's been a lot of people off the Belichick tree that hasn't done well
as head coaches.
But that doesn't mean they're not going to be good. I mean, they're great coordinators. Some guys, like I said at the beginning of the show, they're just not good head coaches. They're great coordinators or great position coaches, and that's the way I feel about Matt Patricia. Could he turn into a great head coach down the line? Maybe he just wasn't the right fit in Detroit. Maybe, sometimes
Detroit was a joke.
You got to have the X's and O's, and you need the Jimmies and the Joes. And if you don't have both of them, it's not going to work out for you. And obviously in Detroit, which, if you look at Detroit, not much has gone right up in that place. So,
not till Dan Campbell and not till the organization finally said we're going to start taking it seriously. But also with Matt Patricia, I'll say this about Bill Belichick's staff and why they are not successful as head coaches, because it takes them learning the hard way to realize that you can't be Bill Belichick. Like that's what because they see Bill Belichick and they're like, well, it works for him. But you got to realize not everybody can be like Bill Belichick. Not everybody can handle a guy like Bill Belichick, to be honest. Not everybody can. And I think when you look at Matt Patricia, he's a different guy. Like, he's lost 100 pounds. He's looks slimmer. His beard is not that what you saw before. Like, he's trimmed it. Like, the dude looks different and he's trying to change, and he looks like he's changed. Now, I think he's still going to be giving tough love to the players, if we're being honest, because
I like that.
You got to push him. And again, I think Ryan Day is going to want him to bring that culture to Ohio State because he's going to want them to, really push it. So, I think Matt Patricia will be a great head coach. It just matters where he goes from here on out. Yeah. Tyler, I see your question. Sean, I have a question. Why do Buckeye fans assume that this is a bad hire like every hire Ohio State makes? We assume the worst. Why? And I'm not talking about us individually. I'm just talking about on Twitter. But that's because with Urban's had some bad hires. I'm not going to lie. He's had some pretty horrendous hires. I'm not saying all of his hires have been bad, but we've seen bad hires before, and it's all gone bad. Even the Kerry Combs hire. That was the worst hire Ryan Day made, but yet we still went to the national title even with that dude calling defense. So
I mean, if you look though, I mean, like Day's made one thing I'll say about Day that I love is when he hires somebody, if he realizes it's a bad hire, he gets rid of the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's willing to make changes. If someone's not pulling their weight, he gets rid of them. And I mean, some coaches sit there and they try to hammer a square peg in a round hole. They sit there and they hold on to guys too long. Day doesn't do that. So I give Day a lot of credit. If this doesn't work out with Patricia, if it's not working, he'll get rid of him within a year. He's not going to, he might give him 2 years tops.
Oh, absolutely.
But then, if it's not working, see ya. We'll find somebody else.
Yeah, I think it will work though. Do you?
I do too. But I'm just saying like that. Just look at the past of what's happened with him. I mean, the Kerry Combs thing didn't work. He's gone. Perry Eliano didn't work. Gone.
Actually, Perry did work. It's just that Jim Knowles did not want him because he didn't fit. He doesn't know his scheme that much, so he wanted Matt. Which, again, I think for Jim, that was kind of dumb because now you put Ryan Day onto the next guy.
But, hey, I mean, Matt Guerrieri did a heck of a job. I mean, there's no doubt about what he did. So, Michigan people, I don't really take much of what they say,
I mean, I don't take what they say seriously either, but sometimes they be annoying me because it'd be like as if y'all haven't made bad hires in the past either, which is why your program is so irrelevant. And I mean, again, too, like you have a guy like Jim Harbaugh, who's not a winning coach. I don't care how you Michigan fans feel. He's not a winning coach. The guy never has been a winner, never will be a winner. The dude is nothing but a loser. And he had to sink and sell his soul to the devil to be the first-time head coach in Ryan Day. Make that make sense. Why would you pull what you did to beat Ryan Day when you know he's a first-time head coach, man?
Well, look at it. Harbaugh look at his record in bowl games. I mean, he's won 2 in his whole career as a head coach at Michigan, 2 bowl games. And he had a losing record against his biggest rival. You say, well, he had a winning record against Ryan Day. What was his total record against Ohio State total? It was a losing record.
Mm-hmm. He never beat Ohio State. As a matter of fact, no, Sean, his 2 bowl game victories came in like the 2023. He was 0 for 6.
Yeah, exactly. He was horrible.
And you could compare his first 6 years to Ryan Day's first 6 years. Ryan Day did more in his first 6 years than freaking Jim Harbaugh did in the 6 years he's been the coach at Michigan. Imagine that. And Jim Harbaugh can go on the whole, well, Ryan Day's a third base coach and whatever. Dude, there's a reason why Ryan Day was chosen to be the head coach. Ohio State don't just take anybody to be the head coach. They don't want a loser like you who can't do nothing. Like with Ryan Day, we knew him winning big games. It was going to be a bit of a struggle just because the games he's lost has been against legitimate like juggernauts.
Yeah.
It's not like this guy's lost against just anybody. These are juggernauts he's going up against. And it's not like he's getting his ass beat. Like this dude's going toe to toe, has a chance to win, but something F's them over completely.
But I mean, look at it. 6 years he was at Ohio State. He won a natty, and he's been to 2 of them. Yeah. I mean, it took Harbaugh how many years to do that with the cheating? I mean,
it took him a long time, like what, 14 years?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at Harbaugh too. Look at what's going to happen in San Diego. He gets about 4 or 5 years max at a place before they get sick of his antics. As weird little, as weird little stuff starts to rub people the wrong way, and they'll kick him out like they did in San Fran.
Yeah, that's what happens with him all the time. It's literally, this is why I say he's not a winning coach, and he leaves every place he's gone to worse than what he found it. Like, think about it. With Michigan, he's going to leave them worse. Like, he literally, not only did you got them, but you got them dealing with the NCAA punishments now because they had to cover up for your dumb self. And let's be realistic about that. Like, you left them worse.
Yeah.
And you're never going to be allowed back in college football because I think the NCAA is going to lifetime ban his ass from the NFL. So, I mean, not from the NFL, but from CFB. But this dude, like, if he screws up in the NFL and he never wins and people start getting sick of him, which they will in about 4 years, that's it. His coaching career is done. Like, they would take away all his accomplishments. And what the NCAA want to do to Michigan, remember what they did to USC with the whole Reggie Miller thing? I'm sorry, not Reggie Bush.
Yeah.
You remember you know why they punched him as harshly as they did? It's because they were doing exactly what Michigan did, giving them the double bird.
Yeah.
That's what you were doing. And guess what? They punished them so bad. USC ain't been the same since.
Well,
you would think that Michigan would learn from USC and like, don't do that. Because if you do, the NCAA is going to be out for blood. And what the NCAA want to do to Michigan right now is way, way worse than what they want to do than what they did to USC. They want to send these guys to the bottom of the Big Ten to the point where they'll never be relevant again. And imagine that.
Look what they did to ASU. And ASU, they said, cooperated fully and didn't give them any trouble at all. They destroyed those guys. Sure, ASU did a heck of a job, getting back. And, they should have beat Texas and went to the Final Four, honestly, because they played that well. But it is what it is.
Yeah, and think about it too, though, because it's like think about what ASU, they mitigated those penalties, because remember they had rules that came out where they will mitigate penalties to those who were cooperative.
Yeah.
But for those who are uncooperative, it's going to be so much worse. It's so much worse.
Look what Kentucky did too. Kentucky and they mitigated them and still took all their wins away and destroyed them. Michigan has such an arrogance about them, and they think the rules don't apply to them. And we're Michigan, you can't touch us. Well, guess what, boys? You're going to get touched. It's going to happen. And I'm going to laugh, and you're all going to cry. They're going to have to put up a dam on the border of Ohio and Michigan so we don't get flooded out with Wolverine tears. Yeah,
that's going to be – actually, I'm going to be drinking them Wolverine tears. It's going to be delicious because that's funny. And you know what's funny? I actually my mom has a friend that watches the show who is a Michigan fan. And I said, please, at some point when he wants to talk to me, because I would love to roast him about his Wolverines. If you're watching now, Corey, I would love for you to come on and I can roast you about your Wolverines. I would love to do that.
Hey, Corey, every Sunday we have a call-in show. We would be more than willing to have you come on. If you want to come on and talk to us, all are welcome to come on and talk. And while we're on the Michigan topic, I'd like to bring something up real quick, if you don't mind, TG.
Go ahead.
Last week we had Mr. Justin Sparrow on here, and it seems like our video kind of hurt some people's feelings. Well, some people got in their feelings and got a little hurt. Someone made an hour video crying about us that, Ohio State and MSU, Justin Sparrow's a fraud. Well, here's the thing about Justin Sparrow. He has receipts on everything. He's made Sam Webb, Chris Ballas, Isaiah Hole all look like idiots. And Justin Sparrow will come on any podcast or any talk show anytime to debate you guys. The reason why none of those guys will have him on is because he's got receipts and he's got the truth. Those guys are scared to have him on any shows because he destroys them. He's destroyed Chris Ballas, Sam Webb, all those guys. They hide from him. They cry about him. And they'll say stuff about him, but none of them will talk to him to his face.
Right.
Nobody will debate him. No one has enough to go one-on-one with him. It's crazy.
That's because they're wussies, and they know they know that they're not smart. Let's be real. The entire Michigan media is dumb as a board. Like, I think we all know this at this point. Like, they're the dumbest. Like, I know a lot of people like to talk about the Ohio State beat. Man, I have never seen a beat dumber than this one.
Well, the thing is, Spiro goes, if I'm so wrong and they'll say stuff. He's like, sue me for slander and defamation. He goes, I would love to go to court, go to Discovery, and show everybody what I got and prove
just like the
everybody.
NCAA will right now too.
He goes, let's go, and none of them guys will take him up. Nobody. They all sit there and they'll whine about him. Oh, he's a fraud, or you got these moron.
They are all frauds, man. They're all frauds. You can never believe a word of them.
You had some of these people in some of these chats who claim they're Ohio State fans. Oh, Justin Sparrow's a fraud. Who doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground?
No, they're not.
So they're just
those are fake. Those are Michigan fans pretending to be Ohio State fans.
Yeah, that's basically what they are. Just go join your blue friends up in the north and leave us alone. So
Yeah, that's the other thing too, is when we talk about the whole, and again, we're gonna get off this and get back on topic with Ohio State, but it's like this thing with Michigan is super funny to me. Because like I said, their fans are kind of celebrating this like as if you are not realizing that that what Ryan Day is doing is no different than Nick freaking Saban. Because if you want to talk about him being a failure as an NFL head coach, you know who else was? Nick Saban.
Sark. Oh, Sark was bad. Lane Kiffin was bad. Look what Saban did to them. I mean, he recommended it.
Yeah, but Nick Saban himself too was a horrible head coach in the NFL. And guess what? He turned into the greatest head coach in college football history. And he's one of the great defensive minds as well.
To be fair with Saban, though, he did have 2 9-7 years with Miami. And the reason he would have been great at Miami, but his medical staff screwed him because they failed Drew Brees in the physical and said his arm wasn't healthy to play. And they failed him and went past the physical. And he ended up taking Dante Culpepper, and Brees went to the Saints. And we all know what happened after that.
Yeah.
But let's be real. And, Saban couldn't get a quarterback, so he's just
left. I get it, too. That's understandable as well, because some of these, like, I say Urban didn't work out, but let's be honest here.
Urban was horrible there.
Yeah, he was horrible there, but the Jacksonville Jaguars are a horrible organization. Like, let's not play like as if they're not. Like, that was just a terrible, terrible job for Urban to take. That was just terrible. There's
just some college coaches, though, they just shouldn't go to the pros. I mean, it's just not. They can't control them guys like they can control the kids in college. I mean, you got guys that are making a heck of a lot more money than you are, that are grown men that are going to sit there and you're going to try the rah-rah college stuff, and they're going to look at you and laugh. I mean, guys like Urban Meyer, they control those kids.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's the best part for them.
And they can hold it over their head.
Yeah, and I think that's actually the thing for Matt Patricia. You can actually control these kids, funny enough. You can't control, like, these players, these grown adults, unless they already have something instilled in them. Because when I look at the Patriots culture with how Bill Belichick did it, I feel like because he was able to get the guys who fit what he wants out of players. Because sometimes that also comes down to players. Because Chip Kelly, the reason why Shady and Jackson talk crap about him is because they didn't like how he treated them, even though it really Chip Kelly was just trying to be helpful. And again, it doesn't work with grown men like them. So it doesn't really work with them, but it works with guys that he did end up bringing in, because it just is all about culture fit, players that fit what you want to do. And, when it comes to the Patriots, I will say this now, they never had like a top tier players on their defense. They just turned those guys into them. And when they did want more money, they just moved on from them and went to the next guy. So,
I mean, every now and then you would get a guy that would get Richard Seymour got paid. Some of those guys did get paid, but a lot of those guys that they would get are veterans at the end of their career, and they wanted a ring, and they would do whatever they had to do to get a ring. So, and they'll knew that, hey, this guy wants to win. This guy's hungry for a ring. He's already got a Hall of Fame career. He's played on crappy team. He'll come here and do whatever I want him to do, and he'll take a pay cut. And it's perfect. You get these young, hungry guys that are rookies, are still on their rookie contract. Then you get these older veteran guys that have already made their big money but haven't won, and they come in and they take a pay cut because they want that championship. And that was a heck of a model he built. I mean, to success. I mean, he even had Tom Brady taking pay cuts, the greatest quarterback of all time. I mean, the GOAT was taking pay cuts, so, his team could be better.
Yep. I mean, that's what Patrick Mahomes does now. Yep. And that's what a lot of quarterbacks should be doing. Because if you want to win a Super Bowl, you got to take less to have more built around you. That's a problem, I would say, in today's day and age, is you don't have that with a lot of these quarterbacks. Now, I want to get to, we'll put Michigan aside for now, but I will say the people who are complaining about the whole Matt Patricia hire, the same people who crapped on the Bill O'Brien hire, who crapped on the Chip Kelly hire, and look how that worked out. So y'all can shut up and just eat it, because I want this hire because it's better for the program. It just is. Now, I'm going to get to the Jim Knowles thing, because this information I found out about why he left shows, I hate to say this about a man, but remember, like, Michigan always said we had a soft coach. You see, now, they were right about that. They were just wrong about which coach it was. Because Jim Knowles, what I'm hearing, makes you the softest coach I've ever seen. You are mad because Ryan Day got in your grill about the defense after the Oregon game? Are you dead serious right now? And that he told you like he was going to make the defense work, but you were going to make it work, and you were going to do the defense his way because he got tired of you not like doing what you need to do with the personnel. So you felt some kind of way. Enough so much so to call James Franklin. And I don't know if it was in the middle. I don't think it was. It was probably after the national title game or before the national title game. You calling this guy 5:45 in the morning to get a job at Penn State. Are you serious, man? You serious? You literally had plans to leave. And then on top of that, you're lying to the players, to their faces, saying you're coming back, and you're completely lying. Like, you can't, like, I can see why Ryan Day just does not like some of these coaches, because some of y'all are just, one of the things he gets with Matt Patricia is he gets a defensive coordinator he can hold accountable, who won't get in his feelings, and he can go back and forth with.
Yep. That's
the best thing. With Jim Knowles, this guy gets in his bubbly little feelings because Ryan Day's on your butt. Ryan Day's the head coach, dude. This is your boss. He can tell you what he wants to tell you. Okay? He's going to get on you if the defense plays that ass, like 22, or better yet, as bad as that defense played in the Oregon game, 21 is what it looked like. He going to get on you. As a matter of fact, all the coaches who've been around Ryan Day knows that Ryan Day going to get on your butt because he don't play that.
Oh, we have a coach that holds his coaches to a high standard, and that's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
You don't accept less. No,
he never will.
We never will. No, you strive for perfection. You're never going to get it, but you're never going to catch perfection, but you will catch excellence. So exactly. That's what he strives for, man. He's not going to sit here and just be like, "Oh, it was okay. We played hard, but we lost. Oh, shucky darn." No.
Especially because we got the best defense, and we gave up 32 points. What you expect Ryan Day to not get pissed? Like, if this dude don't got he knows we got the talent to be an elite defense, and you F it up with that horrible game planning. Now, I understand that you didn't know what to expect out of Oregon much, but you should have had at least a better game plan than that. Like, at least to have safeties over the top, because teams are going to want to take deep shots on us anytime they can. Look, let them do the underneath stuff like they were doing before. You can stuff them in the red zone. Like, what was this game plan? Like I said, the one play that he drew up where he had 4 of his defensive linemen dropping back into coverage and he had Sonny blitzing. Like I said, that was actually a smart game plan. It just was not executed properly. Exactly. So I give him credit for that one.
Hamilton didn't grab his guy long enough. If he'd have taken his guy long enough, Sonny would have had the kill shot at Gabriel.
Dylan Gabriel would have been in a coma.
Yeah.
Like literally. So I don't blame Knowles for that because that was just poor execution on the players.
Exactly.
But everything else, dude, it's like the rest of the game plan was just absolutely terrible. Like you can't sit here and be in your feelings because Ryan Day is telling you what to do. Like, essentially, you're kind of throwing James Franklin under the bus. If that's something he doesn't realize, like, you're basically saying James Franklin ain't the boss that Ryan Day is, because Ryan Day's a boss. He's a CEO. He's going to make sure that everything is on point because he sees this team. He knows we have a chance to win a natty. He don't want to F it up. And he will take accountability when he knows, like, after the Michigan game, he took serious accountability for that, which I applaud him for. Yeah. But let's be realistic. If you have that problem, then yeah, maybe you should leave. Because I don't want to coach like that in my program, man. That's just that's wussy behavior.
If he's going to whine about it and be a crybaby about it, all that's going to do is cause problems in the locker room. Well, you know what? Then you got a cancer. You know what? If the coaches aren't going to work together and you're going to have one guy be a cancer, then get him the heck out of here. You know what I mean? We don't need that here. We hold our coaches to a high standard. Ryan Day holds his coaches to a higher standard. And if you can't handle that, get the hell out. That's the way I look at it.
That's how all the Ohio State coaches are. They all hold their staff to a high standard. That's never going to change. And and again, like I said, with the whole thing with Jim Knowles taking the Penn State job is because they like you get to actually have somebody who's not nothing like Ryan Day. You get to have your own set of defense, meaning you get to run it how you want to, which is true. He gets to run it how he wants to. You do got the personnel over there to do it because of what Penn State does with their linebackers. But truth be told, it doesn't mean it's going to make it better. Because the problem is, dude, you left Matt Gary here. You also left some of your coaching staff from Oklahoma State. Because I'm pretty sure when they let you out of your contract, they see, when we let you out, you can't poach any of our players. You will not be allowed to do so. that right there, you can't poach anybody from the coaching staff. You really can't poach anyone. So now you are going to have to teach these guys your defense. Now, I know Tom Allen has somewhat of a similar defense, but not entirely, because Knowles is way more complicated. But
I can't believe they got rid of Tom Allen. I thought he did a great job there.
No, Tom Allen left because he wanted to go back to his family down south in Clemson, because he does have a daughter that lives down there. So,
okay. I wondered what the problem was.
Yeah, that's why he left. But to get closer to his family. But it's like I said, I can't stand that with Knowles. And then you lie to the players telling them you're coming back.
Yeah.
Like, that right there was just so dirt. Like, dude, you're a scummy person for that, man. And like I said, I'm not surprised if there is bad blood between you and Day, especially because Day hates coaches like that. Because I'm pretty sure word got back today that Jim Knowles was reaching out to Penn State. I'm pretty sure of that.
Oh yeah, that's shady, man. If you don't want to be there, then leave. Don't pull, underhand crap like that.
Yeah, well, the good thing is Ryan Day kept it together and got him on point to say, you're not going to F this up. We're going to win the natty. And then you can leave and take your ball and do whatever. But even though Ryan Day, I think, also wanted to try to work something out, because he is a reasonable man. Like, he wants to work something out. He's willing, but Jim Knowles wasn't. So, I mean, again, that's just the problem. And it's like, dude, you are supposed to be the defensive head coach. Like, please. And here's the thing. You can't talk about holding players accountable if you don't want the boss, the head coach, holding you accountable.
Yes.
He is going to hold you accountable. I'm sorry, but it is what it is, man. Like it or not. I mean, think about how many fights Ryan Day got into with Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
What, you think he took that personal? No. He understands that's part of the job. He gets it. He's going to have his spats with Urban. Urban is a defensive guy telling the offensive guy what to do with his offense. What, you don't think Nick Saban got into it with his offensive coordinators a lot?
Well, Urban was an offensive guy, actually.
He was? Because
some told me he was a receiver coach. So yeah.
Oh, really? Because I always hear like of how great of a defensive mind he is, and that's all he specialized in. I never heard about him on offense. Yeah, I'm glad you told me that.
Him and Dabo are like the only two receiver coaches that I really know of that have left being a receiver coach to become a head coach.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was only the Bowling Green, and Dabo was the receiver coach for Clemson, and they promoted him to head coach, which usually doesn't happen. So when Hartline was going around getting interviews, they said the only big head coaches that were ever receiver coaches that turned out to be head coaches without taking a coordinator job was Dabo and Urban. So.
Yeah, and think about it too. It's like, because think about why Hero Kanu transfer. He thought Jim Knowles was coming back, and he was like, "No way am I coming back." Yeah. Not with this dude trying to get rid of the 4-down D lineman. Like, no, not doing that.
And Hero Kanu probably would have stayed.
Yeah, I think he's coming back in the spring. I think he will. And I know, like, what Dev said is that the defense is going to be different, but I don't think it'll be too different from this reason, because I think Hero Kanu can come in and fit with Matt Patricia, because again, it comes down to personnel, and I think Hero can fit his system and whatever he chooses to do.
Yeah,
I think he can. So, and I don't think he's gonna have to learn a little too much. Like, yeah, he's gonna have to learn a little bit of new stuff, because there's gonna be some tweaking and some stuff done with the defense to make it more evolved, better. But he could come back. He could come back and learn it pretty easily, and he's gonna have the help of guys to make sure that he does. And Matt Patricia will make sure he does too, especially with how great and valuable of a depth piece Hero is. So. And I'm also going to say this when it comes to, again, with Jim Knowles, it's like, dude, I don't ever want to hear you talking about freaking like anything else ever again, man. Like, this is so pathetic. The fact that, and like somebody had said, I think it was Chocolate Chip Scoochie who said it's amazing that they kept this from leaking out. Yeah, like it is. The fact that they kept this from leaking out is amazing. It's true. Like, they did it for a while until somebody else got it out there. And then it started spreading. And it's like, now that we all know the truth, it's kind of sad, really. Because like I said, with Knowles, I did have high hopes of him. I did praise him because I think he could have been an NFL DC if he evolved his defense. And I do think he's a great D coordinator. I'm not going to take that away from him. But at the same time, dude, you're too damn stubborn. And like, you're in your feelings. And like I said, you make James Franklin look worse by saying that. Because, I mean, again, you're saying he's not a boss. He's going to let you do whatever. Yeah. And it explains why he can't win big games, because he doesn't know how to do what Ryan Day does. And again, Penn State fans can say, well, Ryan Day couldn't win big games either. Here's the funny, until he did. But the difference is, Penn State fans, Ryan Day's a first-time head coach, so that makes sense. And it's not like the games he lost was against just anybody. It's against juggernauts for the most part.
Ryan Day, I mean, besides losing to that Michigan team this year, he hadn't lost to a bad team
ever up until this year. Up until this year, this is the only game he legitimately lost against Michigan. This is the only one. But again, when you talk about like Ryan Day compared to James Franklin, again, the difference is Ryan Day's a first-time head coach. I mean, he's only been here for 6 years. James Franklin has been a head coach longer than Day, and this dude still can't win big games. Like, he is who he is at this point. And they think they have an opportunity at like a natty. And
honestly, they can make the playoffs. I think they can make a run, but the question is
winning it. I'm talking about winning it.
It would have to. Aller would have to take a big step, and things would have to fall into place for him to do it.
I don't think he
honestly. I don't see Aller taking that step. I think they got a great offensive coordinator. I think they got a good offensive line, and I do think they have good trench play, but they don't have the receivers, and I don't know how many of the running backs are coming back.
Yeah, let's be realistic here. It's like with
James Franklin though.
Yeah, no, like the running backs are coming back, like Katron Allen and Nick Singleton, but who gives a goddamn? You don't have receivers.
Yeah.
Like this is the thing with Penn State fans because they're so damn delusional. It's like Drew Aller has the potential to be a good quarterback, but he's not getting the right development. Like if he was with, say Steve Sarkisian or Ryan Day, especially Ryan Day, he probably would have been a great NFL quarterback. Maybe gone in the first 3 years, maybe 2 years of him starting.
Well, imagine this. Ryan Day tried to get him at the end and tried to bring him into Ohio State, and he wouldn't get him because, Quinn transferred, and he tried to pull Aller to come, but Aller had already committed to Penn State.
Yeah.
What would have happened if we'd have had Aller instead
he still could have came over, though, because, to be honest, I think with Aller, if we had him, I don't think we have to go through the Kyle McCord fiasco. I'll say that now.
I don't think Will Howard comes here either.
I don't think so either. That's the thing. But that's why I'm kind of happy it didn't happen. Yeah. Because we ended up getting what we needed out of Day and him taking the step forward to the next Nick Saban, in my opinion. But they got great running backs. But it's like, again, we've seen what happens when they face like great defenses because they can't run the ball. You can't do anything
because they can't spread the field. Everybody comes in. And they load up the box because you can't spread out the defense.
I mean, think about what Ohio State did to them the last set of years. They could not run the ball on Ohio State. We just knew instantly because the tight ends I know are going to be the threat of this offense. I know Tyler Warren is gone. They always have great tight ends. So be realistic about that one. So for Ohio State, it's going to be very simple. Take out the tight end, take out the run game. Penn State can't beat us because they don't have no receivers. Now, they tried talking to us about the guy that came in from USC, and they did make a couple transport moves with wide receiver, but these guys aren't great players like that. Like, are they threats to a David Ibnosin, to a Jermaine Matthews, even to a Lorenzo Styles or a Bryce West, who Ted Glenn said will be a superstar like Arvell Reese? Are they threats to Aaron Scott? Like, are they really threats to the secondary? Because the thing is with the secondary, I know we've lost Jordan Hancock, Denzel Burke, Langton Ransom. Those are big losses, but I think we still got some NFL dudes on the secondary. Like we do. We still got some dudes. I mean, Jermaine Matthews was the best coverage corner of the bunch. And this is his sophomore year. Like,
dude, Aaron Scott and Bryce West, you know what I mean? Aaron Scott and Bryce West are no slouches at all.
No, not at all. And then you got Jalen McClain, Miles Lockhart. I think Miles Lockhart will be a starter because, first of all, I love Jalen, but I think he's got more he needs to learn, first of all. So I would say Miles over him right now. But no, like what I'm going to say this is I think we're going to have a star-studded defense. I think our D-line would do fine. Yeah, it's not JT. It's not Jack anymore. We don't have the main front four. But let's be real. Cade McDonald, he gets compared to Tyreek. And he gets compared for a reason because he is a lot like Tyreek. He does everything Tyreek does. He just needs to take that next leap like Tyreek did. And then with Edric Houston, I mean, the dude as a freshman was a total freak. I mean, he got some playing time, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah.
In the Natty. Like, this dude came in as the second-string defensive lineman. I mean, my goodness.
Yep.
Like, we got studs at D-tackle. Edge rushers, like I said, I think C.J. Hicks will move down the edge rusher, and I think he'll be the backup to Kenyatta. I think we'll have Logan Logan George as the other one. Then we'll have Joshua Mickens, Zion Grady. What's the other guy?
I think Mickens can make a big step because Milton left.
Milton.
Left.
Yeah, which kind of, I mean, I love Milton. I'm not gonna
Dominic Kirk, I think, is more built to
on the inside.
Run.
I think he's built from the inside, but I mean, he can play. He can't play edge rusher too, though. Like he's capable for sure.
Yeah,
but he might be better. But I'm not gonna lie. When we're looking at this defense, I think we're gonna have a great defense. It's not gonna be as good as last year's, but it's definitely gonna be top 5, maybe even top 3, maybe.
See, the ends will be built different this year. We'll be back to the leaner, more pass rusher ends. That I mean, Jack and JTT were, they were pass rushers, but they were more of the stop the run first, set the edge, then they would get a pass rush. These guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because every team would try to run the ball on us every time.
Yep.
And here's the funny thing: I think JT and Jack are elite pass rushers, but they never really got the chance to show it consistently because of the defense.
So yeah,
like the scheme was not the scheme was not helping them. Yep. If anything, it was helping them develop like pass rushers like they should have, because it's why JT is so inconsistent and why it took Jack such a long time to get to where he is, because the defense was just so not for them. It really wasn't. So it took Ryan Day strong on arming to make sure this defense was fitted towards these guys, but they can stop the run. Excellent run stuffers. I think excellent pass rushers as well. They just need a chance to show it and need more of the handcuffs taken off of them. That's what was needed. And we saw it when the handcuffs were taken off of them for pass rushing. They were pass rushing like crazy. And think about how often they were getting held and never got called. It's because everybody knew how good these guys were at pass rushing. You don't hold them, you're not going to stop them for pass rushing. So to me, I think we're going to have great pass rushing DNs in Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson. But I think they're going to be built to be bigger to stop the run, because if you're a team, you don't want your edge rushers being guys who could just, you can run the ball on. Like, I don't think you want that. You're going to want them to be bigger to stop the run. So I think they're still going to be elite pass rushers, but they're going to be able to stop the run. I mean, they were able to do that when they did come in and play. They weren't easy to run on. So I think they'll be able to stop the run. They might not be as elite as Jack and JT, but they're going to be, I think, B+ to A-. Because I think Jack and JT A+ at stopping the run. I would say A- to A at pass rushing. That's where they were. I think those guys, Kenyatta and Caden, are A+ pass rushers, B+ to A-, run stoppers.
I just think that they're built differently. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, some people are taller and lankier and, are more of a speed rush to the outside, but that doesn't mean they can't stop the run. It's just, I think they could develop into much better pass rushers than what Jack and JT were. But, we'll see. I mean, they have that potential, and they have that frame like Chase Young had.
Yeah.
And like Bosa had. They're more built like those guys. And Jack and JT were a little squattier. I mean, they were thick.
Yeah.
They're,
and here's the funny thing. They may have been thick, but they were freaking explosive.
They were fast and explosive. Yes, you're right. They were.
Like, guys with that kind of size and that kind of, that type of size should not have the speed and the twitchiness that they did.
No, they were freaks. No
Just
doubt about
total
that.
freak. And I'm glad I got to see it. And now, for Donald and Karen, you say it did take him 3 years to install it. It was difficult. Penn State does not have the talent. They actually do have the talent to do Jim Knowles' defense, because they have better pieces than we do for starters. Like, they do with their linebackers that we don't do. And if I'm being honest, I will say that I don't think Penn State's defense will still be that great, though. Even though they do have talent, I don't think it'll be as great. I think their defense will still give up big plays, because I'm not a big fan of their secondary. I'm definitely not a fan. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be hard with their D-line, because every time we go up against their D-line, our offensive line just out-physicals those guys every single time. And we got inexperienced offensive line coming back. We got 6 dudes with experience coming on in this offensive line. The 2 tackles we brought in. Yeah, the 2 tackles we brought in from the portal. And then the 4 guys we just had, Integra, Luke, Austin, and Carson, all coming back this year. So I think we'll be fine against Penn State. I count that as an automatic W, because it doesn't matter what Penn State does. They can never beat Ohio State, even when they do have a good defense. I mean, imagine 2018, 2021, Ohio State had the worst defenses of all time. What happened? Ohio State still won.
I mean, Saquon Barkley's not coming back to help them. So
I don't care how good Katron and Nick Singleton are. They're not threats to this defense. Because remember, 23, we had them on 1 for 15 on 3rd down. That is historically great for our defense, historically bad on their offense. And then this year against Ohio State, or last year, I should say, they didn't score a freaking touchdown against this Ohio State defense the entire game. So, like, until they fix their offense, who gives a damn how good their defense is?
What I don't understand, this is what drives me crazy, is you got people like Penn State and you got people like Wisconsin who always has these good lines and always has these good defenses, but they never can get receivers. Why aren't you guys opening up your pocketbooks and dropping some bags on some playmakers, man? Get a couple of those Florida kids to come up there and play for you. I mean, that's the one thing that those guys usually are missing, are those explosive playmakers. Why they are not dropping bags to get a couple kids up there is beyond me. I don't get it.
And this person is right. I do think Arvell Reese and Sonny especially will make running backs' life super miserable. And for Mike, thank you for the compliment, but I know what I'm talking about, but I don't think I would fit as a head coach myself. I'm not gonna lie.
TG knows her stuff. RDB, thanks, buddy.
Yeah. He says, on the flip side, why can't we seem to get those good lines like they get? When you want to protect our playmakers, that's the thing. We do have good old linemen. It just took them a while to really develop. And again, with Justin Fry, it was recruitment as well to an extent, but it's like I said, I don't think that our offensive line was ever bad. It's just that it took it a while to really get going and took it a while to really find chemistry because we had so many changes that happened. I mean, remember, Luke Welper. He wasn't supposed to go to the NFL. He was supposed to come back for another year, but he went anyway, and it threw off the whole offensive line and set us back a year. So then we had to go with Carson. And then this year we had injuries going on the offensive line, which really made things difficult. And then the offensive line found its groove, dominated, and we won the Natty. So we do have offensive lines like they do. If anything, our offensive lines are better because when Penn State goes up against our D-line, they get whacked every time. So, or any good D-line for that matter. But yeah, we do have the players. It's just that it took it a while to get there because of so much change on the O-line. It happened so many times.
An offensive line is the one position that takes the longest to develop, and chemistry is so important on that line that you got to have 5 people playing in unison. I mean, it's like a well-oiled machine. If you get one guy that's not in step with everybody else, that throws everything out of whack and can really cost you. I mean, one guy out of, making one mistake on the line can get your quarterback killed, can get you, an interception, a fumble, a big loss.
Anything bad, man.
Yep, exactly.
It can get your quarterback injured or even your running backs. But that happens too. But that's why, again, it just took continuity. And with all these stuff we went through on the offensive line with constant injuries, because Zen McCaskey, whether people know it or not, was supposed to start for Ohio State in 23 to move Fryer to guard, but then he gets injured in practice. So, a bunch of that stuff happens all the time to Ohio State. And I think for the first time, we're actually going to come in with a more coherent offensive line, because I think Ethan is going to be able to fit as the left tackle of the team. Phillip Daniels is definitely going to be able to fill in on right tackle as well. I think we're going to have a great offensive line, because last year's offensive line would have won the Joe Moore Award had it not been for the injuries. But and I think because of the injuries, they should have won the Joe Moore Award because of how dominant they were. But and with Ryan Day's championship beard, I remember asking Kirk about Michigan having a Joe Moore Award winning line. Honestly, that's just because of the Cheaty scandal, because they knew it was coming. And where is that at Ohio State? I think our line should be outstanding at the time. It's all the time. It's Ohio State. Again, with Michigan, it was the Cheaty scandal because they knew the plays were coming. So they knew exactly how to block it easily. And they were practicing this all the time, for starters. Ohio State, again, always has great old lines. But again, chemistry and continuity, RDCB, is important on offensive line. If you don't have that, it's going to be a disaster. Just look in the NFL. What offensive lines do you think? Like the Browns' offensive line right now is a freaking disaster because of what happened to DeJuan Jones, and like that's always going to be a problem when you don't have the continuity.
Yep, that whole thing. And then they lost their line coach. Was Callahan's the best line coach in the NFL? So I mean that killed them losing him. So you can see what happens when you have a horrible line coach. Yeah,
well, I don't think Justin Fry. Well, first of all, Justin Fry is not a horrible line coach. I will say
no,
that now.
He's a good line coach.
Yeah, he's a great one.
Great at recruiting.
Yeah, and he wasn't, and that's what Ryan Day's championship beer also brings up. He wants to see us change. I mean, that's the point of us bringing in Tyler Bowen. The dude knows how to recruit. He does. He can recruit offensive line. I mean, remember, Olu Fashanu said in an interview with the Jets on the Jets media that he was going to go to Ohio State, but it was like Tyler Bowen is the reason he went to Penn State. If it wasn't for him, he would have went to Ohio State. So, when it comes down to it, Tyler Bowen is going to be able to help us with recruiting. We know LaCharles is going to be involved with the program, helping out to develop some of these offensive linemen in the part-time role, from what I hear. But we don't know if that's true or not. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think it might be. And that's still good for recruiting because it means you get to work with the greatest offensive lineman that's ever lived. I don't care what people say. This guy's the only guy to play all 5 positions on the offensive line. Name me another offensive lineman that can do that.
It's still heartbreaking the way his career ended with the Browns.
It sucked.
Terrible.
It sucked.
Terrible. I cried. I mean, it was that bad. I mean, not really, but it was horrible that he didn't ever get to play a play with him. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, dude, his rookie year, he was a stud. And then they signed him to a 2nd-year deal. And then on a freaking play, he freaking blows out his leg somehow. And it's so weird. And it's
then he caught a staph infection, and
that's what sucked for him. And on top of that, like I said, I think our offensive line is going to be even better moving forward. Because, like I said, I think Justin Fry did a great job with development. It's just that you had so many off-kiltered offensive line incidents that kept throwing off the chemistry it never materialized the way it should have. Ohio State fell behind in recruiting for offensive line, and not just lately. I think that is about to change big time. It will, because again, these guys had to make staff hirings, and you do have offensive linemen that are very happy about the hiring of Tyler Bowen. So, and I am too, because like I said, this guy is a really good coach. He could teach. I think LaCharles is going to help him with the part-time that he's going to do, but I think our offensive line is going to be star-studded. I think moving forward, the recruiting is going to be better. But again, Ryan Day, I'm going to say this when it comes down to Ohio State. They don't give a damn about 5 stars. They don't care about 5 stars. Like, if you are a 5-star who has this idea that you want to get big time money and you're not about the team, please take yourself somewhere else.
If you're not about the work, you got to put the work in.
People talk about, again, David Sanders. The reason why this wasn't going to work is because Ohio State basically told him, do not come here and try to use this as leverage to make Tennessee give you more money. Because that was a freaking problem that they had with him, because they realized that's what he was doing. So Ohio State passed on him, rightfully so, because that's not a guy I want him on this team. Because he's not, I'm sick of it, because especially with these high school players, you ain't done nothing. They don't care about what you did at the high school level. Yes, what you did at the high school level is impressive, but when you come to the next level, it's difficult. Just like in the NFL, you cannot keep thinking that you're going to get away with doing stuff like that. So, be real with yourself here.
Thank you, Robert. I watched a Julian Edelman podcast with Maddie P, and I got to say I was very impressed.
Yeah.
I have not seen that yet, but I've heard it's a really good episode.
I've seen the clip, a full clip where he's talking about the freaking defense and how he does things, and that had me sold right away. And I said I got to finish watching the entire episode, but man, it was so good just listening to him talk. The dude is really a genius.
Well, TG, it's that time. We've been here for an hour. Got to wrap it up. Do you have any last anything you want to say? Any last thoughts here before we wrap the show up tonight?
Yeah, I will say this, that I cannot wait for the 2025 season to start. Guys, if things don't go well, don't freak out. It's the beginning of something new. I think we're on the predication of the dynasty of Ohio State, because everything Ryan Day is doing, you see Nick Saban. And he's doing it the Nick Saban way, which I like. And I think that as long as Ryan Day is on this trajectory, I think we're going to see Ohio State be great for a long time under him. And I think he's going to win more natties. I don't know if it'll be this year, even though I really do believe he can do it this year. But if it's not this year, he'll do it next year, and he'll do it years after. So I would just say to everybody, be patient. Do not freak out in week 1. Don't. Just be patient, and let's see how it goes from here on out.
Guys, we've lost 3 games, I think 3 times in the last 30 years. I mean, we lost 3 games 3 times in the last 30 years. Come on, we don't have any down years. We don't take any big dips like the other programs. We don't rebuild, we reload. Are we going to win a natty next year? I don't know. It's going to be hard. Do I think we could have a shot at it? Yes, I do.
Especially because there are no big time juggernauts that we have to go up against. Now it's just an even playing field.
But like TG says, if we start out a little slow, remember, we can drop a game or 2 at the beginning of the year and you can rebound because it's a 12-team playoff now. Mm-hmm. So no throwing the baby out with the bathwater. No want to jump off a cliff if we drop the Texas game or if we have a little bit of growing pains, because we're going to have a new quarterback and it might take a little bit for the defensive system to click, but we're going to be fine. I mean, why do I say that? Look at the history of Ohio State.
Right.
I mean, I'm 46 years old, and there's been 2 losing seasons in my lifetime. And guess what? Next year's team has a crap load of talent coming back. So not a bunch of crappy players.
And these are a bunch of guys who played in the Natty too.
Yep. And they got a ton of experience. We got a lot of Letterman coming back, a lot of starters coming back. And we got the best player in college football on the offense and the best college player on the defense.
Burks, no, he's too young to be that. Julian saying, screw off, man.
I think he'll get some playing time. Yeah, he should get some playing time. And that's cool. QB1. If something happens where he comes in and he's so unbelievable and he wins it, if he's like Trevor Lawrence, okay, as a freshman. Trevor Lawrence was amazing.
Okay, I would be a little worried with Trevor Lawrence comparisons just because we see how Trevor Lawrence is now. And like I said, we've watched Trevor Lawrence against the freaking Ohio State defense under Kerry Combs back in like 2020. That dude could not pass against that defense, and that defense was horrid. So I would
his freshman year and his sophomore year, he was good. But I mean, Andrew Luck, you never know. Sometimes some freaks come in as freshmen, but I'm interested to see Michigan throw Bryce Underwood out there and watch him get slaughtered. So don't sleep on Lincoln. Hey, if Lincoln can come in and win the job, tip my hat to him. You know,
I'm gonna say this: he is a project quarterback because he has the talent to be a great quarterback. It's just that he needs some work.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and I think he should transfer because I'd like to see him get playing time. I just don't think his playing time's really gonna be here at Ohio State. I could be wrong.
I think he might be the backup if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think he'll be a quality backup if he wants to, but I think he could go to a Bowling Green or a Toledo or a smaller school and get playing time and actually start and, play some big time college football.
I'll say this. I think he should transfer after this year because we really do need him for depth right now. So I would say do that after when we get our 2026 quarterback in here and we got like Tavian backing up Julian. So,
but to Lacey, Mark P, Vader, Steely, everybody else at DKR, all of our, regulars in the chat that always come in to see us and support us, we thank you. And we will be here next Thursday. And you know what, guys? We might have a couple special treats coming up here in the near future. So we're working on a couple different things. Might have a couple special guests coming up. Who knows? Anything's possible here on the Buckeye Boys. So for me, I'm Sean Schrock. That's TG. And all of you guys out there, thank you for a great night. OH.
Oh.
We out.